guys, and welcome back to another video. So this week's video is the video you've probably been waiting for. I am finally doing a video where I talk about all of my thoughts and theories on Avengers Endgame. So I'm filming this on the date of the date, and it is less than 20 days until it comes out. I don't know about you guys, but I am so terrified, so excited. This is the film, isn't it? This is the big film. It is the end of an era within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and everyone has been discussing and thinking about all sorts of theories and stuff on what could possibly happen in this film. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about what I think is going to happen. I also asked all of you guys on my Instagram story for your thoughts and theories, so I will be talking about some of the theories you guys sent in and my thoughts on those and whether I agree or disagree and that sort of thing. So let's just get started. A quick spoiler warning: if you have not seen the films Avengers Infinity War, Ant-Man and the Wasp, or Captain Marvel, I will be spoiling all three of those films since they are the latest MCU films to come out. If you have not seen them, don't watch this video. Also, if you're one of those people who have been avoiding trailers and clips from Endgame and you want to know as little as possible going into the film, also don't watch this video because I will be discussing clips and trailer footage that we have gotten. So spoiler warnings aside, let's get going. So Endgame is basically part 2 to Avengers Infinity War. It left on that massive cliffhanger. Thanos got hold of all the Infinity Stones and he snapped and wiped out half the universe, which is slightly problematic. So we can assume that Endgame is going to pick up where Infinity War finished off. So at the end of Infinity War, Thanos got hold of all 6 Infinity Stones. He did the snap and he wiped out half of the universe, and basically everyone who we didn't think was going to die died. Like all the Avengers and characters who have confirmed sequels, who have been newly introduced into the MCU, who we thought were safe, they all got wiped out. Like Spider-Man and Black Panther and Doctor Strange and that, you know, we thought they were safe. Apparently not. They got wiped out. They are gone. As it happens, the original 6 Avengers from the very first Avengers film, so Tony, Steve, Natasha, Clint, Bruce and Thor, they all survived, which I'm happy about because it means that Endgame is going to be focused on them, as it should be, because it's their story coming to an end, essentially. They are the originals, they are the OG Avengers, so their last film is gonna focus on them, which I'm excited to see. So we get Hawkeye in the trailer for Endgame. He's now Ronin, which is really awesome. He wasn't in Infinity War because he was on house arrest with his family, and I think what a lot of people reckon is gonna happen is that Clint's family probably got wiped out during the snap and they got dusted, which is then what leads to Clint becoming Ronin and joining the Avengers again, and I think that's probably what's gonna happen. And I think the same is gonna happen to Scott as well. I reckon Cassie will probably get dusted, which gives him motivation to then help the Avengers. But obviously Ant-Man and the Wasp, at the end of that film, he went into the quantum realm, and then Hope, Hank and Janet all got dusted, so he was essentially stuck in the quantum realm. We don't really know how he's gonna get out, but somehow he does, and then he goes to the Avengers. Some people have been talking about how, what if Scott was also meant to be dusted but he wasn't because he was in the quantum realm, and that essentially protected him from the snap, which would mean that actually the universe isn't balanced as Thanos wanted it to be, which I think could be the case. But I reckon even if he wasn't meant to get dusted, surely it's not going to be balanced. Thanos wiped out half of the universe, but what about people that could have died as a result of the dusting? We saw it in the end credit for Infinity War. There was a helicopter crash and there was a car crash because people who were driving vehicles, they got dusted, and so the vehicles no longer had drivers and so they crashed. Well, what if there were people who didn't get dusted, but because of drivers disappearing, they ended up in car crashes and they got killed that way? Surely that would then mean that actually it wasn't half the universe who got wiped out. It would actually be more than half, because people just randomly disappearing cannot end well at all. So I feel like there must have been people who died as a result of accidents caused by the people getting dusted, and therefore it isn't actually a solid balance between those who died and those who are alive. Like, unless Thanos calculated that, and so he actually dusted less than half, so that by the time any accidents had happened and had casualties, there would be half. But how he could calculate that, I don't know. So I don't really know what he was planning really, because I doubt he actually got rid of exactly half of the universe. Why he couldn't have used the Infinity Stones to create more resources so that there were then enough for the whole universe rather than just randomly killing half of the universe. I don't know why he couldn't do that, but he didn't. But like, that's just a thought that I thought of. Like, it's probably not balanced. Like, he wanted it to be balanced, but I doubt it actually is perfectly balanced as all things should be. Like, Thanos, I don't think you thought this through, mate. I don't think you thought this through. So one of the big questions people have is what happened to the people who got dusted? Are they just gone, dead, deceased, no more? Or is there something more to it? One of the theories I believe in is that they are trapped within the Soul Stone. It's the Soul Stone, essentially, I guess, that gives him the power to take life. And therefore, when the Soul Stone takes life, especially on that scale, what if the lives that are taken, the souls maybe, are trapped within the Soul Stone, or they're in a soul world, an alternate reality? Someone on Instagram said to me, what if they are trapped in an alternate reality where life just continues? And I've seen a couple of people mention this actually, where what if the snapped people are actually now in an alternate reality where they weren't snapped, it was the other Avengers who were snapped. What if there is an alternate reality out there where we have Peter and T'Challa and Wanda and Sam living in a world where Steve, Tony and Thor and Clint all got dusted? You know, maybe they aren't dead, maybe they are just somewhere else, trapped somewhere. Who knows? We really don't know. It will definitely be interesting to see how they go about it. But what we can assume is that those who were snapped are going to come back. I mean, we know for a fact that Spider-Man's going to come back because Far From Home is the next film after Endgame, and Black Panther and Doctor Strange have confirmed sequels as well, so obviously they have to come back, and I'm pretty certain they will come back. Someone else suggested to me that what if not everyone who was snapped comes back? What if, talking about what I was saying about it not being perfectly balanced because some people were killed as a result of accidents caused by people disappearing, what if people killed in that way, they aren't going to come back? They weren't taken by the Soul Stone. So even if they reverse what Thanos did and bring everyone who was snapped back, those people aren't going to come back unless time travel is involved, but we'll get to that later. But then we have the people who were killed in the film not by the snap, so you've got Loki and Gamora. As for Gamora coming back, I personally don't think she will, but I feel like they might bring her back anyway. It depends. I don't know what they're gonna do with the Guardians, because we do have a third Guardians of the Galaxy film coming out. So are we still gonna have the original Guardians for that film, or do you think some of them aren't going to survive? So then we have Loki, who obviously died very early on in Infinity War, and of course there are many theories out there about how he could be alive still, because Loki fans, we just don't want to accept that he's gone, okay? This is like the third time he's died now, and you know, the other 2 times he's come back, so who says he isn't gonna come back this time? There are a couple theories going out there, and I think the theory that I believe is there's the Grand Master's ship, the ship that Loki flew at the end of Thor Ragnarok to the big ship that Thor and the Asgardians were on. That's how Loki got back there after he stole the Tesseract, and so that ship is on this bigger ship. So what if Loki escaped on that ship? Because we also know for a fact that Valkyrie is still alive, yet we never see her in that first scene on the ship in Infinity War. So I reckon at least Valkyrie, and maybe some Asgardians, maybe Korg as well, who knows, and possibly Loki if he is still alive. What if they actually managed to get onto the Grand Master's ship and escape that way? Which I think is what a lot of people think might have happened. There was also the theory that Loki is currently pretending to be Bruce Banner, and that is why Banner can't Hulk out, because it's actually Loki and the real Banner could be on this ship with Valkyrie. There's many different theories out there. Personally, for me, I think Loki is dead, gone, deceased. I think it's about time we just accept that this is it. Thor himself said in the film that even he thinks this was an actual death and that Loki is definitely actually dead, and I think that was Marvel's way of telling us, guys, he is actually dead, he's not coming back this time, hate to break it to you. And as much as I want him to still be alive, I just don't think he is. He's still gonna be in Endgame, but through time travel is what I think. Again, I'll talk about that slightly later. So as much as I want him to still be alive, I do think that was it for Loki currently. But they have recently announced that we are definitely getting a Loki TV series on this new Disney streaming service with Tom Hiddleston. So that is gonna be crazy exciting. We're gonna get more Loki content still, so if he is actually dead for good in the MCU, I can live with that, okay? I can live with that. We're getting a whole Loki TV show. I'm happy to accept that he is actually dead, but I do also like the theories on how he could have possibly survived as well, and if he has survived, then I will be very happy. The most recent MCU film to come out is Captain Marvel, which I have now seen twice at the cinema, and we got some good hints and ideas about Endgame in this film. So within the Captain Marvel film, we do see Carol give Fury the device that Fury then uses to contact her in the end credit scene of Infinity War, which, you know, is a cool way to cross over to that, you know, which is interesting. But probably the biggest clue we get to Endgame in Captain Marvel is the end credit scene. So the end credit scene, we see Natasha and Steve and Banner and Rhodey at the Avengers compound in New York. It's obviously just after Infinity War has happened because Nat still has her short blonde hair, Steve still has his beard. They've found the device that Fury used to contact Carol, and they're basically wondering what it is, who's on the other end of the thing, and then sure enough Carol comes and shows up at the Avengers compound and asks about Fury. From that, what we can gather is that Carol arrives on Earth right after the snap happens. However, we then also know that Endgame takes place 5 years later, because then we see Steve without a beard and we see Natasha with long hair back to her. So we know there's a 5-year time jump at some point in Endgame, but what's gonna happen in those 5 years if Carol shows up right at the start? And someone suggested this on Instagram, and I think this is likely what's going to happen, but I reckon that they're gonna have a fight scene of some sort at the very beginning of the film, and they're gonna lose that fight, and as a result they kind of give up and don't really know what to do for 5 years, and then after 5 years something happens that then allows them to try and fight Thanos again. We do see in the trailers. In the trailer we see some clips that make it look like they're going to go straight to Thanos, and we also recently got a clip released of them talking about going after Thanos, which again is clearly right after the snap happens based on hair and beards and stuff. So I reckon they are going to go straight after Thanos right after the snap. As soon as Carol shows up, they're like, right, let's go get Thanos. It's not going to go well. Something's going to go wrong. They're just not going to succeed. They're going to lose. So then they're going to come back to Earth and be like, okay, never mind. And then 5 years is going to pass. And then begs the question, what's going to happen after 5 years that makes them go after Thanos again? And I reckon what that might be that happens is Tony gets back. We've seen a couple clips in the trailer. We know he gets back, him and Nebula. And I reckon from the clips in the trailer that it isn't until 5 years later that Tony gets back. I reckon him and Nebula find a way to get back to Earth themselves, but it takes 5 years. And so the Avengers have done nothing for 5 years because they tried to fight Thanos. It didn't go well. They gave up. 5 years pass, and all of a sudden Tony shows up. And maybe him and Nebula know a bit more now. They know how to stop Thanos or something, and because of Tony getting back, that leads to them then doing something else. And Tony getting back is the catalyst into the end battle that will happen at the end of the film and the big plan on how to stop Thanos. Now, what do they actually do to stop Thanos? How are they going to stop him? So the biggest theory that I believe is time travel. Back ages ago when they were filming Endgame, we got a bunch of set pics that showed Tony Stark with Captain America and Loki, but Captain America and Loki were wearing the same outfits and they looked exactly the same as they do in the very first Avengers film, whereas Tony looked completely different as he does in the first Avengers film. So what I reckon is gonna happen is Tony, possibly Ant-Man, and maybe more of the Avengers, I reckon they're going to go back in time to the very first Avengers film, and they're possibly going to work with Loki to possibly try and get the Tesseract to stop Thanos early on. I don't know what they're really going to do, but I reckon they are going to go back to the Avengers. Which then brings the question, how do they time travel if they don't have the time stone because Thanos has it? Maybe in the very first fight at the start of the film, before 5 years later, they do actually succeed in getting the time stone, but then they aren't able to like use it until 5 years later for whatever reason. Or a lot of people on my YouTube videos reacting to the trailers and clips have been suggesting that the suits the Avengers wear, you know, the really ugly white and red ones, those suits actually look very similar to the suit that Hank Pym wears to go to the quantum realm in Ant-Man and the Wasp. And so a lot of people are speculating that what if the Avengers go into the quantum realm and are somehow able to time travel using that realm. I'm not exactly sure how that would work, but I think it could work. So maybe Scott comes in, tells them about the quantum realm, and they're able to use that realm to time travel back to the first Avengers film. It's certainly going to be interesting to see what happens. One of the big questions in Endgame is who's going to defeat Thanos. So I had some people saying that they want Carol to defeat Thanos, and I've had other people saying they think it's gonna be like Steve, Tony and Thor. I love Carol with all my heart. She is so powerful and I love her, but I would not want her to defeat Thanos because she's brand new into the MCU. From what we know, she hasn't actually had to face Thanos before. We don't really know what she's gotten up to since Captain Marvel, so maybe she has, but she hasn't really been involved with Thanos, and therefore I don't think she should be the one to defeat him. I'd rather it would be Steve, Tony and Thor who gets to defeat Thanos, because these guys are original Avengers, you know, they have been trying to stop Thanos for a while now. I mean, they didn't know that the New York attack in the first Avengers film was Thanos, but eventually they found out it was, and so, you know, they're realizing Thanos has actually kind of been after these stones and he's been causing chaos on Earth for a while now. They definitely deserve to defeat Thanos more than Carol, but for me, Nebula, guys. Nebula should definitely be the one to kill Thanos, okay? Nebula deserves to kill Thanos more than anyone else in this film. And that is the truth, okay? So even if it's a joint effort, Nebula has to be the one to finally actually end him. Done. That would make me very happy. She deserves it so much. I think Nebula should be the one to kill Thanos. But I think she should team up with the original Avengers and possibly Carol as well. And they should like take him out together, and then Nebula can do the final strike and kill him and finish him off. And that would be pretty awesome. So that's my thoughts on that. Someone on Instagram suggested the theory that what if Thanos teams up with the Avengers to take out another villain? This thought never occurred to me. I don't really want that to happen because Thanos does not deserve a redemption arc at all. But it got me thinking about like what villain is there who could possibly be more powerful than Thanos at the moment, and the one villain I thought of was Galactus. And sure enough, the following day when I asked for theories on Instagram, someone mentioned that they thought Galactus might be in the film. So I reckon if that theory were to happen, that Thanos would team up with the Avengers, I reckon Galactus would be the other villain that they would have to fight. But I don't want that happening. We do not want Thanos becoming a good guy. He is a bad guy. He does not deserve redemption. Although seeing Galactus would be pretty cool, but no, I'm good, thanks. Someone else on Instagram suggested, what if Steve is a Skrull? That is possible, honestly. Likewise, what if Bruce Banner is a Skrull and that's why he can't Hulk out? I think there is a very high chance there could be a Skrull of some sort involved, because in Captain Marvel, the Skrulls come to Earth. We see 4 arrive on Earth. Yeah, I'm pretty certain we only find out what happens to 3 of them, because 4 arrive. One is Talos, who obviously we know what happens to him. Then there's his science guy who gets killed, and then there's the other guy who pretends to be Coulson and gets killed. But that leaves one more Skrull, and I cannot for the life of me think what happens to him. So does that mean that there was one Skrull left on Earth and we never actually found out what happened to him? So could that Skrull have actually become an Avenger at some point, you know? So there is a high chance that an Avenger could be a Skrull, and I reckon Steve's quite a likely one, Banner's quite a likely one. I mean, it could literally be any of them. Can you imagine if it turns out that one of the Avengers has been a Skrull this entire time? What if Steve has been a Skrull since the moment they found him in the ice? Like, that's when the Skrull kind of took over as Captain America. What if he's been a Skrull this entire time? I don't think I'd like that. I don't think I'd like that. No. What do you mean, like, Steve might have been a Skrull in Captain America the Winter Soldier and stuff? I don't know how I feel about that. I do like the idea of one of them having been a Skrull this entire time, but also I don't want one of them to have been a Skrull this entire time. Do you get where I'm going with this? That would definitely be interesting, but I reckon there could be a Skrull involved somehow. Or I know someone mentioned what if Fury was a Skrull, which also could make sense, but I don't know. The Skrulls are interesting, aren't they? They are. They certainly make stuff interesting, so it'll be fascinating to see if they have any involvement in any future MCU films, to be fair. So then we get to the biggest question that everyone has about the whole of Endgame, and that is who is going to die. Basically everyone. So I am saying 100% without a doubt Steve is going to die. I think it's gonna happen. I have been worried about Steve dying ever since they announced Civil War, because he dies in the Civil War comic, and so for that film and basically every film that he's been in since then, I have been slightly fearful of his death, and I just feel like he is the most likely one to go. I just think it's gonna happen because it's Captain America and his death is such a big impactful thing, especially in the comics, so I feel like they would bring this into the films. But I reckon there's also a very high chance for Tony to go, and also a high chance for Thor to go. Basically all of the original 6 Avengers are screwed. We know for a fact that the OG 6 Avengers, this is their last contracted films. This is the last film in the actors' contracts. We know that after this film the OG 6 Avengers are gonna be gone. They're either gonna be dead or they're gonna retire or something along those lines, and most likely is that they're gonna die. Are they gonna kill off all 6 original Avengers? They totally could, but I don't think they will. I don't know. It's like, how have Marvel approached this? Because they know that we know that they're probably gonna die, and you'd think that all 6 of the Avengers dying is a bit too predictable, but then I mean we've all predicted that Steve's probably gonna go, Tony, Thor. I don't even know. I just don't like to think about it, to be fair. It could literally just be any of the original Avengers I think are gonna go. As for characters who aren't the original Avengers, I mean, I can't imagine them killing off anyone else. I guess Rhodey could possibly go. He's been in it since Iron Man, so yeah, he could, but I don't know who else. When I asked on Instagram, I think most people said they reckon Steve's gonna go. A lot of people also said Thor and Tony as well. Someone said that they would be the ones to go, and honestly that's probably the most likely outcome. It's us who isn't going to survive Endgame. Someone said that they reckon everyone who survived the snap in Infinity War, they're the ones who are going to go, and then everyone who got snapped are going to come back. But really we don't know, just that we should be very fearful about the original 6 Avengers. Watch them not kill off any of the OGs and kill off other characters instead. I will be so mad if they do. I mean, I will be very happy because I do not want the original 6 to die, but you know, I just need to get this film over and done with. I just need to find out who's gonna die so I can just accept it and move on. One person on Instagram did say to me that they think everyone is more worried about who's gonna die than they are about the actual outcome of the film, and I think that is the case. It's not necessarily a bad thing. The only reason that that is the case is because we know more about the deaths than we do about the outcome. Because of the ending contracts, we know for a fact that the OG Avengers are going to be gone by the end of this film, and because we know that, we know they're most likely to die, and so we're worried because, well, we know more about who's gonna die than we do about the outcome, because the actual outcome of the film and what's gonna happen in the film, we literally know nothing. We know absolutely nothing. The trailers haven't really helped that much. I couldn't tell you what I think's gonna happen, you know. I think it's gonna be the time traveling theory, but again, it's just a theory. It could be completely wrong, and even then we don't know how it's gonna turn out. Is Thanos even gonna be defeated by the end of the film? I swear to God if he isn't. But you know, we hardly know anything about the outcome, and so we aren't worried about it because we don't know anything about it, whereas we know that Steve is a goner, so we're worried about that more than anything else. Which, yeah, I think that is why people are more worried about deaths and the outcome, and rightfully so. Oh my goodness, everyone's going to die. I am not ready. In conclusion, I am very scared for this film. I'm very excited, but I'm also very, very scared. And that, I think, is all my thoughts and theories on Avengers Endgame. So I will be doing a movie review of it, but I cannot promise that it's going to come out anytime soon. I also still want to do a Captain Marvel review, so that will come out before the Endgame review, but I'm very behind on YouTube, so you're going to have to bear with me. I've just got a couple more weeks, and then I am done with my first year at uni, and then I'm going to have so much free time, and I'm going to use all of it to film YouTube videos, and I will upload weekly, and we're going to make it happen. You just got to bear with me, okay? In the meantime, comment down below what you think of all my theories. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Who do you think is going to die? Are you excited for Endgame? What are all your thoughts? And yeah, like and subscribe, and I might see you in another video if I survive Endgame. If Steve dies, you might never see another YouTube video from me again, but hey, we'll just have to see what happens. So, bye!